Hello everybody, my name is Phil and I survived economic collapse. First I want to thank you to Mr. Mannarino for this opportunity to warn people here in North America about the upcoming economic collapse. I survived the economic collapse which started in 1990s in Eastern Europe. That was when the ex-communist countries and regimes start to crash down. I saw empty stores, riots, lack of food, and finally in 1997 I survived 1080% of inflation. What you should know about economic collapse: there's nothing funny about it, there's nothing good about it, there's nothing that actually is amusing about it, because I see many people here in North America that wish something happened because they store 200 cans of food in their basements. But the economic collapse I survived is still continued there. So we're in 2017 and it started in 1990, and you can't store that much canned food or toilet paper. Actually, the key of surviving economic collapse is careful investments, minimalistic lifestyle, and basically keeping a low profile. If you want to hear more about my story, I have a YouTube channel which is called the Tough Times channel, when you can hear all about the economic collapse I survived. And because I won't have enough time to tell you everything about this right here. And I have another channel which is Off-Grid Freedom. I'm talking about, and I'm teaching a minimalistic lifestyle. One thing I want to tell to people who think that nothing will happen is that exactly what people in the ex-Soviet bloc were thinking. Because the Soviet Union, they were saying, is the most powerful nation in the world, was the most actually rich country with natural resources. It had a really huge economy. It was gigantic economy, and it was a really vast territory. So people were saying that anybody who would say that economic collapse will happen there is a paranoid, which is what we see here now. And I want to tell you something else. I want to tell you that economic collapse is not something that is happening overnight, because people here are basically expecting that we'll wake up one morning and that's it. There won't be a food in the stores, there won't be a gas in the gas stations, and everybody will be broke. That's not the way it happened. So, if you think that nothing will happen here, you're wrong. It is already happening. It's bad and it will get worse. Because I survived already one economic collapse, I could very easily detect the symptoms of the upcoming economic collapse here. The first and the most important symptom is the disappearing of the middle class. The second is the impoverishment of everybody. One economic collapse usually comes, it affects everybody, the rich and the poor. Some people who are very careful investors, or who knows how to ride it out, could make a profit, but most of the people are affected in a negative way. I was lucky enough to live on my grandmother's homestead, and producing our own food and raising our own animals were really helpful to us. It actually basically saved us from malnutrition. The Red Cross and other humanitarian organizations were there trying to help distribute, like giving food to everybody, but there's never enough in a situation like that, because everybody's in need. And that's exactly the situation that we see right now in Canada and the United States with the food banks, who are basically running out of food because there's so many people. And statistics says that they never had so many working people going for food there right now. Interestingly enough, the mainstream media now they claim that nothing is wrong with the economy. Actually, it's going great. But don't believe that. When we had this 1080% of the hyperinflation, which I survived in 1997, mainstream media were accusing anybody that would say that something is wrong with the economy or the country, that they're paranoid, that they're conspiracy theorists. Sounds interesting, huh? Same thing is happening here right now. And doesn't matter what mainstream media says. It's already here. It's already started. They were never fixed. The problem of 2008 was never fixed. Here in Canada, even worse. We didn't have this correction that you guys had on the housing market and real estate market in 2008. Another thing that people don't realize is the debt they're getting in. Here in Canada, actually, the situation is much worse than the United States, because many people in 2008, they learned their lesson and they adopted more minimalistic lifestyle than people here. Unfortunately, the statistic showing that right now every Canadian basically is $170 in debt on every dollar that he makes, which is scary, guys. And it's getting up to 175 next year, probably 180. And we realize that when you owe almost double to what you make, it will get worse very, very fast. Another thing, now the Federal Reserve and the Central Bank of Canada, they're starting to raise the interest rates. So by raising the interest rates, these people will get in trouble, because many of them don't realize that even if they pay a very low interest right now, that won't last forever. So I just want to warn everybody, be ready, be prepared, but not in the sense to store canned food in your basement like turn into a crazy prepper. Just be careful how you spend. Try to pay off your debt. Adopt minimalistic lifestyle. Learn these skills that our grandparents had. How to raise a garden, how to raise some animals. Having chickens was extremely helpful for us during the economic collapse, because we had fresh eggs when the stores were empty, and in the big cities people were basically beating each other up on the waiting lines for food. We had fresh fruit, vegetables, eggs, and everything that our garden produced, and we didn't even have a big homestead. We had like a just backyard sized homestead. It was like a mini urban homestead, but you can't imagine, if you have the skills, how much food you can produce there. Also, very careful investments. Listen to Mr. Mannarino about his advices about the market and everything, because he's good at it and he'll give you a good advice. And just forget about showing off, having car that you can afford, having house that you can afford. This madness should stop, because that is what actually leading to the current situation with the depression coming ahead. Thank you very much for watching, and again thank you to Mr. Mannarino about this opportunity. Have a nice day.